Hi, my name's Lynn Houmdi. I'm the Senior Manager for Learning and Leadership at the Challenges Group. The Challenges Group is a provider of Chartered Management Institute certification, qualifications, and Chartered Manager Status. I have been a manager for probably a couple of decades. I was a manager in the civil service for a long time, and since taking a voluntary redundancy, I've held managerial positions in a number of small businesses, including the Challenges Group. And I thought it would be useful for you to have a bit of an insight into the benefits of the Chartered Manager status and also the process of how to get it. So Chartered Manager status is something that is recognised internationally. The Chartered Management Institute works across the world, and it's really recognition of your experience and the value that you bring as a manager and a leader. And the process is quite simple. It's much simpler than a management qualification, for example. The form asks a series of questions that ask you about your own experience of being a manager in leadership, and you're asked to give examples, much like you would in an interview where you would expect to give a star response to an interview question. The questions are quite similar. So they're the kinds of questions along the lines of give me an example of when you have. And so personally, I found that much easier than the kind of essay questions that you might get if you were taking a management and leadership qualification. And once you've submitted the form and that's been accepted, you have a professional management discussion. And that is much like an interview, only a lot less nerve-wracking. The interviewer will ask you about the examples that you've used on your form, but might ask you to elaborate on some of your experience or share some other examples. So it's really just an opportunity to reflect on your experience as a manager and also to share some evidence and some proof of your experience. And for me, I would say having Chartered Manager status, I've really enjoyed that reflective process. I think especially when you undertake that with your colleagues, it's a good way to learn from each other, to share your experience and your knowledge. But it's also a good way to kind of boost your confidence that actually you've been a manager for a while, you have perhaps led teams, to kind of give yourself a bit of a pat on the back about the experience that you've had. And as I said, it's an internationally recognised status, so it's really useful to have not only for your current job, but for any progression plans you might have. It's really handy to have it on your CV, and it really sets you apart from other managers because it really gives value to the set of skills that are required to be a good manager or leader. And I think often that's missing. Often managers take on managerial responsibility without formal training. And often what happens is people just assume that people can manage because they've proven themselves in a particular context, and then they get a team of people to manage. But this is really giving the proper value to the set of skills that are required to be a manager or a leader. So I wish you all the best in your journey to Chartered Manager status. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come back to us.